I'm a basketball player. I mean, whatever position you put me in, I mean, that's what the position I'm gonna try to play. Even if you try to put me at the 5, and I know I can't play the 5, but I'm gonna try to do my best in that position. So I don't call myself a 1, I don't call myself a 2, I call myself a basketball player.
Monta Ellis was a star, a guy who at the age of 24 was averaging 25 points a game. That was less than 10 years ago, and now he's making a comeback to the league after being out of the league at the age of 31. But what happened to his career? What is up, dudes, dudettes, ballers, players, it's your boy MJ. Before the Warriors were the Warriors of today, they were a struggling team that was just bad. But at the core of the Warriors were the young Stephen Curry and Monta Ellis. The Warriors almost traded Curry away and built around Monta Ellis, but were absolutely lucky. While Stephen Curry would thrive, Monta Ellis would find himself out of the league at the age of 31. Not because of any injury, but because no one wanted him anymore. Now, with Monta saying he wants to play for a contender like the Lakers and working out for teams, we might just see him on a playoffs team, so I think it's important to understand who Monta Ellis is, what happened to him, and what he's been up to since then. Drop a like for Kawhi Watch and follow me on Twitter for all my takes and rants about the Knicks, not me and Kawhi. Like, come on, logistics? Really? You couldn't meet up with Kawhi Leonard, the best free agent left? Who are you meeting with, Reggie Bullock? Like, Also, to the 85% that watch my videos that still aren't subscribed, Monta is making a comeback, so you can too, and please subscribe! In order to understand who Monta Ellis is, let's first start from just right before his NBA career. Monta was a second-round pick in the 2005 draft, but he never went to college. As a 6'3" combo guard coming straight out of high school, he had experienced nothing but success. In his senior year of high school, Monta averaged a ridiculous 38.4 points, 7.9 rebounds, 6.9 assists, and 4.5 steals. At one point, he scored 72 points in a game, and he was named the National Player of the Year. He won 2 state championships and was runner-up twice in his 4 years of high school. Monta had the utmost confidence himself, and you could see it in his game. He was a ball hog. In fact, even before the draft, this is what scouts had to say about him. He loves to dribble and dribble and dribble, and then dribble some more. AU ball has basically left him with no grasp or comprehension of team basketball or fundamentals, and he probably wouldn't understand what's wrong with that if you tried to explain it to him. Wow. This report is savage. On top of that, Monta really wasn't a combo guard. He was a 6'3" shooting guard that was super quick, a good ISO player, but not a point guard. The same report said that he's a 6'3" shooting guard with absolutely no point guard skills whatsoever. This will limit his potential to contribute minutes initially unless he ends up on a horrible team. And he did get drafted to a bad team. The Warriors were coming off a 34-48 record, and they hadn't made the playoffs for 11 straight years at that point. Monta wasn't supposed to be the savior, he was a normal second round pick. He only played in 46 games in his rookie season, averaging 6.8 points in an uneventful season that saw the Warriors miss the playoffs again. And they were doomed for the same until the Warriors made the changes to the coaching staff with Don Nelson and trade players for Steven Jackson amongst others to do a run and gun style. They gave Monta Ellis more minutes because he fit this style. In 34 minutes a game, he averaged 16.5 points and 4.1 assists off of 47.5% from the field. They made the playoffs in 2007 in the unbelievable We Believe run, and so Monta at the age of 21 had been thrust into the limelight even if he didn't perform well in the playoffs. In his third season, he averaged 20.2 points and 3.9 assists off of 53% shooting from the field. The Warriors still didn't make the playoffs, but were a pretty good team, but after that season, they became bad. Ellis re-signed for a 6-year, $66 million deal, but in the 2008-2009 season, they lost Baron Davis. Ellis was injured for 57 games, and they had a 29-53 record. All this led to the one player who would inadvertently drive Monta Ellis away from the Warriors, and that would be the baby-faced Stephen Curry, everyone's nightmare. As soon as Curry was drafted, Monta Ellis immediately had a problem. When asked by the media on how him and Steph would play together, he simply said, "We can't." And then he followed it up with, "We're not gonna win that way." Like I had mentioned, Monta Ellis was never really a team-oriented guy. Till this point, he had been doing really well because he had been developing in this run-and-gun style offense in which he got a lot of touches. Those touches allowed him to take advantage of his quickness and also allowed him to operate in isolations and use his 17-foot mid-range jumper. It was exciting to watch and see him cook players alive, but there was no team involvement in his game, no real catch and shoot, no three, no off-ball movement, no defense besides the gamble steals, and very limited playmaking. Monta had already played with a point guard like Baron Davis, so you would think drafting Stephen Curry wouldn't be that big of a problem, except drafting Curry, who hadn't shown that great of point guard skills, made people think that Monta had to play more of the point guard position, and Monta didn't want to change his game or even adapt it to fit his team's needs. So by drafting Curry, Monta felt insulted by the Warriors management because they had drafted a similar player to him after he was told that he would be one of the leaders on the team while signing a 6-year deal. I can understand where he's coming from, and after his girlfriend persisted that he would have to apologize to Steph for those comments, Ellis did, and said his problem was with management, not with Curry. Monta Ellis went on to have his best season in 2009-2010, averaging 25.5 points and 5.3 assists on 45% shooting and 31% from 3 in 41 minutes a game. 41! I feel like I have to justify his field goal percentage because before the explosion of analytics and before Stephen Curry's explosion in the NBA, a guard shooting 45% from the field was considered good. Shooting 47% was considered great, and above 50 was elite. It was a time with not as much spacing where the mid-range game was still accepted, but even that was starting to go out of fashion and threes were on the rise. Despite all of Monte's success, the Warriors would have a horrible season with a 26-56 record. Yeah, they were trash. There was no real chemistry between Curry and Ellis on the court, and off the court, Stephen Curry was surprised when he got an invite to Ellis's wedding, thinking that it was actually from Ellis's fiance. Of course, the Warriors management noticed this and saw that Curry had a great rookie season, averaging 17.5 points and 5.9 assists off 46% shooting from the field and 44% from 3. Curry came into the league a shooter. There needed to be a changeup, but one good rookie season wasn't enough to cement Curry as a guy who was equal to Monta, so they played together again. In the 2010-2011 season, Monta averaged 24.1 points and 5.6 assists off of 45% from the field and 36% from 3 on 40 minutes a game, and the Warriors went 36-46. Stephen Curry even won the Sportsmanship Award. So on one hand, you had a developing star in the making who was a team guy and was healthy, only missing 10 games in 2 seasons, and on the other hand, you had an offensive dynamite whose best seasons didn't lead to the Warriors getting better. So you would think that the front office had an easy call on who they would build around, Curry, right? But the Warriors management wasn't the management of today. They chose Monta and looked to trade Steph, at least based off the Bucks owner Mark Lassery, who said the Warriors offered Stephen Curry for Andrew Bogut, and the Bucks rejected them because of Steph's ankle health. Steph had tweaked his ankles 5 times in the season before, and in the offseason he went through surgery, and in January of 2012 he sprained his ankle again. So the Warriors, with no other real options, decided to trade Monta instead of Steph and take a chance on Steph being their franchise player. Warriors fans loved Monta and booed Chris Mullin at his jersey retirement. If Steph didn't get injured, that trade goes through and the Warriors build around Monta Ellis. That's a crazy what if. Monta would find himself on the Bucks and in a new situation, scorned by the team that told him he would be a leader. Monta just stood tall in his own beliefs. Remember, this is a guy who called himself the second best player in the NBA in 2010, over LeBron, over KD, over everyone. Wow, Monte. Monte was traded in between the 2011 and 2012 season, and in his first full season with the Bucks in 2012-2013, he would average 19.2 points, but he also shot the worst three-point shooting percentage in the league at 28%. He was even worse in the playoffs, shooting 16% from 3, averaging 14.3 points in 4 games. He signed a 3-year deal with a player option with the Mavs after everyone was worried about his inefficiencies. The Bucks once again weren't a fit, and you'll see that's a theme throughout his whole career. His time on the Mavs was special because Monte showed what he could do in the playoffs. He was the second option for the team, but at times became the first option over the aging Dirk. While his season averages were right around 19 points and 5.8 assists, Monte chose to answer the questions about shooting by not shooting as many threes, lowering it from 4 threes a game to around 3 a game. The Mavericks would make the 8th seed in 2014, and Monte averaged 20 points in that series, losing. In the 2015 playoffs at the peak age of 29, Monte averaged 26 points in 5 games in the playoffs along with 5.2 assists, shooting 47% from the field and 37% from 3 on 6 threes a game. This was his peak, but the Mavs still lost. After his second year, he decided to leave the Mavs and joined the powerhouse Pacers in 2015 for a 4-year deal for $44 million. He had a minor knee surgery that no one knows details about, and that's probably due to the amount of minutes played. Monte was almost always near 40 minutes a game. A guy like James Harden this year, who did all for his team, averaged 37 minutes, and Monte has averaged more than that over his whole career. Just wow. Monte got used more as a third option on the Pacers, averaging 13.8 points and 4.7 assists, but once again, it wasn't a fit. Not enough 3-point shooting for Monte, and the Pacers were going through the turmoil of Paul George wanting to be traded. Ellis took a bench role in his second season with the Pacers, and he only averaged 8 points, but he wasn't effective, and the Pacers decided to waive him with 2 years left on his contract. That meant the Pacers just did not want him and were willing to take his cap hit even without having him as a player. And just like that, Monte was out of the league at the age of 31 in 2017. On top of that, he got suspended for 5 games for violating the anti-drug policy. No other team gave him a chance because they had seen Monte in as many roles as he could. They had seen him as a star first option, a second option on the Mavs, a bench role player, and in each of those situations on all those teams, he had not once adjusted his game for the benefit of the team. They also saw the Warriors revolutionizing the NBA with the 3-ball. It wasn't that Monte was an outdated offensive player with no defense or the fact that he was undersized. It's the fact that he never tried to gain point guard skills or develop his 3. He believed his way was the only way. Monte even admitted in 2016 that the Warriors wouldn't have won a championship with him, and he's absolutely right. That scouting report I said in the beginning of the video was scarily accurate. He was just not a team basketball player, and his best basketball came at the expense of his team. Since then, Monta Ellis attempted on making a comeback in September of 2018 when the Timberwolves were interested in him. Of course it was the Timberwolves. Nothing actually materialized from those talks and the workout. The only other news since then was that he sold his mansion and that Curry wore Monte's jersey in Oracle's regular season finale. Monte wasn't a bad teammate off the floor, he was just a ball hog that didn't contribute to winning. Now he's trying to make another comeback to a contender, and there are teams interested. Ellis is going to work out for teams this Monday. The thing is that I think Monte could be effective if he's at the 3-ball and if he's the leader of the second unit. Being out of the league should be a humbling experience and make you hungrier. He's only 33 years old, and so he definitely shouldn't be a washed player even with all those minutes. Teams are worried about Ellis' knee because they really don't know much about that surgery, but at the end of the day, Monta Ellis has himself to blame for his career. But I think that if he's changed himself, he can really be exciting and help a team out. But what do you think? Will Monta Ellis make a comeback to the NBA? If so, then which team will he sign with? Drop a like for Monta Ellis cause he's still cool. And to the 85% that watch my videos that still aren't subscribed, please subscribe. I see all the crazy support you're showing with all the reload comments on my last video, and if you're still here, comment comeback so I know you're a real one. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm live streaming an hour after this video goes up, opening packs and talking to you guys about this whole Kawhi watch and the Knicks being stupid. The Instagram shout of the day goes to Shaheen, and the all-day notification watch shout goes to Christian Blake. Thanks for the all-day support. Make sure to bell for all the notifications, and if you're not a sub, hit that subscribe button and join the all-day community for more fire content, all-day support. It's your boy MJ. We out.
Stop in my spaceship, no.